Manchester City has been at the pinnacle of football for years, dominating their opponents with a strong and impressive style of play. However, it seems that this season things are not going as planned. The team's overall performance has seen a significant decline, and a string of defeats is further dampening the morale of both players and fans. So what's happening to Manchester City, a team that has been unbeatable for years? Could it be that Manchester City's long-standing dominance is coming to an end? You're about to find out, but before we dive in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Manchester City began making world-class signings to their previously average squad after being sold to a UAE-based investment group in 2008. Especially after Spanish manager Pep Guardiola took charge in 2016, the team's playing quality improved and their pressure on opponents increased. Following these changes, Manchester City shattered records and won 6 out of the last 7 Premier League seasons, with 4 consecutive titles. The team also won the Champions League in recent years, fulfilling one of the biggest desires of their investors. Manchester City was expected to start this season comfortably and claim their 5th consecutive title. However, they faced heavy criticism for their transfers. They sold one of their best young talents, Julian Alvarez, and brought in players like Savinho and Ilkay Gundogan. The team's transfer season, both in terms of acquisitions and sales, was criticized. Initially, Manchester City had a good start to the season, winning their first 4 matches, and no one expected things to go so wrong. This all changed after their 2-2 draw against Arsenal. Despite taking the lead early in the match, City drew 2-2 and suffered a serious injury during that game. One of the standout performers from the previous season, Rodri, tore his ACL in his right knee and was ruled out for the rest of the season. We will return to Rodri's injury shortly. After that Arsenal match, which saw them equalize with a last-minute goal, Manchester City's balance seemed to be disrupted. In their next match, they drew with Newcastle United, signaling the beginning of their downward spiral. On September 30th in the EFL Cup, Manchester City suffered their first defeat of the season, losing 2-1 to Tottenham. Following these losses, Bernardo Silva, the Portuguese player, described the team's situation as, "We're in a dark place." The crisis within the team was now visible to everyone. Manchester City's successive losses to Bournemouth, Brighton, Tottenham, and Liverpool created a losing streak, and with this first ever defeat streak, Manchester City might be going through one of their worst periods since Guardiola took over in 2016. With this decline, some football fans began to wonder, is the Manchester City era coming to an end? While some football fans hold a great deal of sympathy for Manchester City, others view them with disdain, claiming that they have only grown thanks to the capital of Arabian investors, arguing that Manchester City has dominated the Premier League purely through money. This issue was recently raised with Guardiola. When asked if the recent defeats would mark the end of the Manchester City era, the Spanish manager replied, "I know everyone wants that. I can't say it's over right now, but even if it lasts 50 years, this streak will come to an end. You can be sure of that." Perhaps the period of decline Guardiola referred to has already begun. We can't say for sure, but one thing is clear. For the first time, Manchester City is in the midst of such an intense crisis. Recently, Guardiola was walking down the street with his bodyguard and staff when someone shouted at him, "Cry because you lost?" Upon hearing this, Guardiola became visibly angry and retorted, "Come here and I'll show you how to cry," as he moved towards the person. His bodyguard intervened at the last moment, pulling him away. It seems that Guardiola is going through a mentally challenging period. In addition to all these challenges, the club is currently facing 115 separate financial charges. These charges are under judicial review, and depending on the outcome, the club could face a points deduction or even relegation. Amid all this, the club is dealing with other internal issues as well. Due to these 115 ongoing legal cases, some star players are choosing not to join Manchester City. They may have a valid reason, as players might not want to join a team that is experiencing a period of significant decline. Aside from the legal battles, there is another managerial issue. Txiki Begiristain, the club's sporting director for 13 years and a key figure in the team's rise, announced he would be leaving at the end of the season. While the departure of a sporting director may seem like a normal situation, the person most saddened by his announcement was undoubtedly Pep Guardiola. This is because Begiristain and Guardiola had worked together since their Barcelona days and were very close friends. Manchester City has faced numerous difficulties this season due to injuries. Players such as Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, Jeremy Doku, Ruben Diaz, and John Stones have all experienced injuries. However, the most significant name among them is undoubtedly the Ballon d'Or winning Spanish midfielder, Rodri. Since Rodri is one of the most crucial players in the team, his injury was a huge loss for Manchester City. A study on his absence showed that when Rodri is not on the field, Manchester City's possession rate drops by nearly 12%. With his passing, tireless work ethic, and many other qualities, Manchester City struggled to win matches easily without him. Another injured player, Kevin De Bruyne, has returned from injury this season, but remains far from his best form, which negatively impacts the team's performance. Furthermore, Manchester City's reliance on a narrow rotation has significantly amplified the performance drop caused by these injuries. At the start of this season, Pep Guardiola had planned to use a 3-4-2-1 system. However, after Rodri's injury and the unplanned departure of some players, Guardiola shifted his strategy back to a 4-1-4-1 formation. Manchester City's trademark passing game continues, but Rodri's absence and İlkay Gündoğan not being in his usual form have negatively affected this style of play. With Rodri unavailable, Mateo Kovacic has been filling in, and while Kovacic is effective in passing, he doesn't have Rodri's ball-winning ability. In addition, Kevin De Bruyne is also out of form, and when he's unavailable, noticeable problems arise in the team's overall play. Due to the lack of key players and other setbacks, Manchester City is struggling to break through opposition defenses, resulting in fewer goals compared to previous seasons. While Manchester City remains the second highest scoring team in the Premier League after Tottenham, they are finding it more difficult to score. With potential signings in January, and if Guardiola's passion and desire are reignited, the team could return to its former glory. However, currently, even Guardiola's own form is quite low. Despite Manchester City's decline, they are not playing terribly, but they are no longer able to dominate opponents as they once did. Guardiola commented, "There is no doubt that when all of our players return, we will return to our best." Currently, Manchester City trails Liverpool by more than 10 points. Liverpool seems unlikely to drop points, but this situation could fuel Guardiola's ambition, and Manchester City could face another challenging period soon. The club's key players are reaching the end of their careers. Kevin De Bruyne is 33, Walker is 34, İlkay is 34, Bernardo Silva and Kovacic are 30, and Ederson is 31. With key players aging, if talented young signings aren't made in the coming years, the team may face much darker days ahead. If the renewal process doesn't occur under Guardiola's management, and the incoming players are of lower quality, Manchester City could find itself in a very poor situation. İlkay Gündoğan mentioned in January 2023 that he sensed some issues within the club. Perhaps the situation he referred to is the current crisis that Manchester City is experiencing. So what does the future hold for Manchester City? Will they be able to return to their former glory? Share your thoughts in the comments. You can show us your support for more videos like this by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. See you in the next videos.